Greetings, beautiful people. Welcome back to Uncle Lou's Kitchen. Folks, what's happening? Today I've got an incredible recipe, right? I've been honoured and privileged to be allowed to recreate a recipe from the amazing Project Vegan Baking, right? So this is a guy called Tom. He's got an Instagram that will make you drool all over the place, and he's got complete recipes on his website. We're going to get through to that further down in the video. We're going to be making something called Flan Pâtissier, or Parisian flan, basically. Now, among the many places that I lived throughout my life, Paris was one of them. Now, as a kid, you'd go to the boulangerie or the bakery and you'd buy these vanilla slices, and they're just so good. Thankfully, we finally got a vegan version, and that's thanks to Tom here, right? So, basically, this is it. Now, I haven't got a smaller tin, but usually what would happen is if you've got a smaller tin than this should come out a bit flat. And yeah, basically if you've got a similar size tin as mine, just kind of add an extra quarter to the recipe and then you're fine. Just trust me guys, this is just one of the most insane French desserts you will ever make. So without further ado, let's get cooking. Okay folks, this recipe comes in two sections, the crust and the filling. So for the crust, I've got here 200 grams of plain flour, 100 grams of vegan butter, which I've cubed in order to make it easier for when we whisk it all together, 2 tablespoons or 25 grams of caster sugar, pinch of salt, 2 tablespoons of ice cold water. For the filling, 1 litre of soy milk. I've got here 170 grams of caster sugar. Here I've got 45 grams of cornstarch. I've got 1.5 tablespoons of agar powder, 2 tablespoons of custard powder, pinch of salt, another 100 grams of vegan butter, and this. So you're going to want 2 tablespoons of vanilla bean paste. This is quite expensive and hard to find. If you can't get hold of this, just use 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract and that's fine. So the first step, we're going to add all our dry ingredients and whisk it in together. Next, we're going to add our vegan butter. So here we've got our vegan butter cubes, and basically what we want to make are kind of like breadcrumbs. Now this may be tough to mix at first, but just keep at it. The reason I'm using the whisk is because we don't want the butter to melt, basically, so it's still got to stay fairly firm. There will come a point, if you don't even have a whisk, you can use your hands, just try not to work it too much. Again, we don't want that butter to melt into it. So the consistency that you're looking for is breadcrumbs basically, without any lumps of butter in there. So it should be fairly even all across. Just make sure you avoid any butter clumps. Okay, that's done now. You can see it's all pretty much even. There's not really any clumps of butter in there. Now at this stage, I'm just going to add in the 2 tablespoons of ice cold water. Now what I'm going to do is kind of semi-knead it into a ball. Again, don't work it too much. The heat from your hands, you don't want to melt that butter basically. There's our short crust dough. There you go. I'm going to wrap that in cling film and I'm going to pop it in the fridge for 30 minutes. Cover him up. 30 minutes, we'll be back.
Meanwhile.
So what I've got here is my baking tin, and I've cut up some literally baking paper, some oven greaseproof paper. I'm going to put that on the base, and I'm going to cover that up. Okay, so 30 minutes have passed. I've got my dough ball out the fridge. I'm going to flour the surface, and what we want to do then is roll it out into a round shape of about 3mm, 4mm thick. Now, you don't want this to crack. If you can see it's cracking like that, it means that it's too cold. So give it a few minutes, let it sit a bit, and then we're going to roll it out. Okay, so about 3-4 minutes have passed. I'm pressing down on it. You can see there's no intense cracks. It's a little bit. It's not just completely breaking apart. So what we want to do now is roll that out. Okay, so I've got it as rounded as I could. The tricky part's going to be getting this into this. Now this is very hard to work with. It goes very soft very quickly. So the tip is to get this onto the rolling pin, roll it, and then literally flop it into this. I'm gonna try. It's probably gonna break. If it breaks, I'll just keep trying again, and worst case, I'll just show you what it looks like on the inside. I'll find a way. Okay, just to be safe, I'm gonna pop this as it is into the fridge or into the freezer for a few minutes just to get it kind of stable. And then, okay, so that's been in the freezer for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna plop that in there. May break, but I can always patch it up because it's gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be that visible anyway. So let's go. Fingers crossed this does it correctly. Okay, so that's nearly done. Just a little trick, if you want to kind of get it smoothened around the edges, just get a spoon and... Okay folks, so that's about done. Pressed it up, got it nice and up to the edges. It's as good as it's going to get. Don't worry, again, look, this is just the inside bit, no one's going to see it. The main thing is basically that the outside looks good. Right, we're going to pop that in the freezer and then we're going to work on the filling. Okay, so we're going to start off by just mixing in all the dry ingredients at first with a whisk. And the most important, the agar powder. The next bit. We need a cup of the soy milk. Now with these, always do that because the birds sometimes peck at them and they get their beaks trapped in this. So just always cut them if you see them before you throw them away. So I've got my cup out of the litre. Okay, do you know what? That may not work. It's a bit too flat. I'm just going to change the saucepan to a smaller one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put that on a low flame and I'm going to mix in the dry ingredients until they're all dissolved, and then I'm just going to add in the rest of the soy milk. In the meantime, the oven is preheating on 180 degrees C. You want to keep stirring this for about 5 minutes, yeah? Okay, once you can hear that it's starting to bubble up from the bottom, you know things are warming up. I'm going to add in the vegan butter now. Okay, this is now thickened up to a custard texture now, like a thick consistency as you can see. Okay, so where we want it. Turning the heat right down now, and we're adding in 2 tablespoons of the vanilla. There's 1. There goes 2. You don't want any lumps in this, and this is what you want, the bubbles to start popping through. Now we're going to get our base out of the freezer and we're just going to pour that right in. Okay, so we're ready to pour. Do not waste anything. Okay, now this is going to go into the oven for 50 minutes. At 40 minutes, we're going to check it to make sure that it's not burning on the top. Okay, the reason why we've left a bit on of the crust above is because it rises. Put it in the middle of the oven, do not touch it no matter what happens. It's going to rise, it's going to bubble up. Don't touch it, let it be. Okay, so we're 40 minutes in. I'm just going to open it up. As you can see, it's bubbling, but it's not yet ready. Don't worry about the bubble, do not touch. Okay, I'm going to put it in for another 10 minutes. Right, so while that's in the oven, I want to take a moment to just go over Tom's profile a bit, because the work that he does, this is an Instagram that you're going to be drooling all over. Now, the recipes that he does, they're detailed, they're outlined, and they're very, very easy to follow along to. So if you take a look here at some of the work he's got, just absolutely incredible. I'm going to put a link in the description to his recipe website and to his Instagram. Make sure you go and follow him. We want to get him on 100,000 subscribers this year. Let's make it happen. He deserves it, and trust me, the recipes that you're going to see there, you're going to want to try every single one. Let's continue. I've just taken it out now. Okay, do not pop that, you want that. It's gonna settle in the end. Okay. There's a little bit of a jiggle there. Don't wobble it too hard because you don't want this to break at all, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm basically gonna cover this up and let it sit for about an hour or so, and then I'm gonna pop it in the fridge. Alrighty folks, that's settled. As you can see, it's no longer wobbling. My only regret, if I had a smaller tin, I think it would have been taller, but it's okay. As you can see, it's nice, no more jiggle, and that's perfect. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna put that in the fridge to go completely solid. Then after a few hours, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna glaze it up with a little trick Tom taught me. Okay, so that's been in the fridge for a good few hours now. What I'm gonna do is just make the glaze for it. So, I've warmed up some water. I'm just gonna pop about 2 tablespoons in there. And I'm using some apricot jam, basically, which is what Tom recommended. A teaspoon of that in there. So about a tablespoon's worth. So I've kind of diluted that a bit now. Okay, and I'm basically, as you can see, a little bit on the syrupy side. I'm just gonna coat that. All right, now, remember our trusted cling film which we used. We're gonna reuse it now, save on the single-use plastic. And I'm just gonna cover that up. I'm gonna pop that in the fridge overnight, or at least for about 5 hours, I'd say. Just, you really wanna make sure this is nice and solidified. And that's that.
Much later.
Okay, beautiful people, the morning after. So, what I've done is I've trimmed the ugly edges, just to kind of make it nice and neat. So now we're going to take this off. Alright, it seems to have sliced well. Now, here goes. Let's have a look. Alrighty. Alright. Okay, so far, texture-wise, this looks absolutely perfect. My only thing, this should be about that tall, but again, that's my fault for not having it in a larger kind of, in a smaller tin. But so far, that looks bloody amazing. As you can see, right, so you've got the little specks of vanilla paste in there, which is gonna be good. So what I'm gonna do is decorate that. In fact, let's have a quick taste test, shall we? Let me slice off another little piece here just for the sake of trying it. Right, okay, here goes. We're gonna give it a taste test now. That's exactly how I remember it. That's insane. Ladies and gentlemen, that's amazing. That is so good. You have to try this. It's absolutely brilliant. Guys, try this for yourselves. Really good. Let me go and decorate the plate and take some shots. Look at that. I'm an artiste, finally. How beautiful. Guys, you're gonna make this. Absolutely stunning. And once again, a massive thanks to Tom from Project Vegan Baking. Thank you so much for letting me try this brilliant recipe. Guys, go give him a follow. Once again, the links are in the description of this video. Hope you enjoyed this one. As always, if you enjoy vegan food, plant-based, there are no animals or animal products on the channel, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thank you very much. Ciao for now. See you on the next one.